Hey guys, what is going on? So I wanted to give an update on my cut as I'm down nearly 40 pounds over the last 3.5 months that I've been cutting. And my performance in the gym has actually continued to go up every single week throughout that entire process. And so this is something that I'm not too familiar with. I usually am somebody who just kind of maintains my strength, maintains my size, which is great. Most people seem to have an issue like losing size and strength. So for me to just maintain, I always consider that to be a win. But this time around, I'm actually seeing my performance in the gym go up, which is something I've never experienced, at least, when cutting. And so I wanted to talk about the things that I'm doing in terms of what I'm doing in the gym, recovery, supplementation, diet, everything like that, because I think it's all important. And I want to talk about what I'm doing this cut that I think is yielding to those results. So the first thing, and I've always been of the opinion that what you do in the gym is the most important thing. Everything else comes secondary. I'm not one of those people who thinks diet is more important than the gym. I've always thought that the gym is like the foundation, and I still think that's the case. Now, if you want to disagree with me, by all means, but that's just my opinion, and so that's kind of the main thing that I think is contributing to this. And what I'm doing in the gym that's different from other times is that I have de-emphasized the major compound lifts in favor of emphasizing my accessory lifts more. And so it's not to say that I don't do compound lifts anymore, but I'll do some type of variation. So as opposed to like bench pressing and having a ton of bench press volume, maybe I'll do like a Smith machine incline press. And I'm doing that and just trying to have good form and just trying to progress. It's not about like, hey, how much weight can I bench? How many times can I do 315? It's not about that. And ever since I've transition, and this has been a slow process, it didn't happen overnight, as I've been transitioning more and more to treating my accessory lifts as like the main deal, and hey, if I progress on a tricep isolation lift, that means my triceps are getting bigger and stronger. As soon as I started thinking about it that way, instead of being like, oh, if my bench is down, then that's terrible and I'm getting weaker. It's like you can get stronger in all different kinds of lifts. It doesn't have to be bench press. It doesn't have to be a compound lift. You can do isolation lifts. And so for me, that's kind of what I have emphasized. Now, this is not to say that this is what you should do. This is not to say that I didn't build the vast majority of my size and strength doing compound lifts. It's to say that where I'm currently at, the strength numbers that I can hit, the amount of fatigue that puts on me, and how that takes away from the other accessory lifts that I could otherwise be doing to improve the size of my muscles with much less fatigue. At this point, I think that I am better suited to put more emphasis on those lifts and less on the lifts that made my physique what it is. So I'm not forgetting that those compound lifts and, pushing progressive overload on those. I'm not saying that is not the way to go, but as you get more advanced, I think you should, spend a little bit more time with the accessories, emphasize those a little bit more. And so that's really been my deal is I don't even do flat bench. I don't even do like squats. Like I do hack squats. I do like a Smith machine incline press. And that's like one lift that I do, but I don't emphasize my entire workout and build it around that one compound lift. It's like, no, that's just one of my lifts. And then I go on to another one and I treat every lift as if it's important. And, I think that's been very beneficial to me in keeping my fatigue really low, which I think is really important when you're cutting. When you have less calories to work with, I think it's really about how can I stimulate this muscle? How can I improve in the gym without breaking down my body because I have less resources to work with now that I'm eating less calories. So for me, I feel like my recovery in that regard has gotten a lot better. I've also dropped the frequency of how often I lift. So I went from for the longest time, I used to work out 6 or 7 days a week. And then for a while, I dropped that down to 5 days a week. And now I'm down to 4 days a week. And I'm considering eventually going to 3 just because every time I drop, it seems to be a good thing. And so I think my recovery becomes increasingly better as I, 1, work out less times per week, 2, spend less time in the gym. So I'm trying to condense the time that I'm in the gym, working out less frequently, and then 3, the lifts that I'm doing in the gym, right? A bench press or a deadlift or a squat, those are more fatiguing than a bicep curl or a calf raise or something like that. So it's not to say that you should only do the least fatiguing lifts, but you should spend more of your volume on those lifts that are going to give you a high stimulus to fatigue ratio. If you're not familiar with that term, Dr. Mike Israetel, That's all I need to say. But anyway, that's just one aspect. Again, in the gym, that's personally what I'm doing, but I feel like my fatigue has come down dramatically. My stimulus has gone up dramatically, and my recovery, therefore, is really good. And I'm always ready to hit PRs when I come back in the gym and hit that lift again. So I think that's one major aspect of it. Two, I'm just going to briefly touch on this. A lot of you guys probably don't care, but I know a lot of you guys on my channel do care. I talk about supplementation a lot on this channel. Last cut, I cut out Turk and Ecti, thinking that, oh, I'm not going to be building any muscle, so why do I care? I should just save this for when I'm bulking. And I think that that was a mistake. And I'm not going to go into too much detail on, I can't really say with any certainty how much that impacted how poorly my last cut went, because I think there were many other factors. So I don't want to put the blame on that, but I knew this time around that I wanted to keep them in. And I particularly think that ecdysterone is much more important during a cut than Turk is. So Turk is biased towards strength, and given I'm not like trying to bench a 1 rep max, that's much less emphasized for me. Ecti is really good with endurance and getting more reps. And so for me, I'm trying to progress my lifts. I'm trying to go from 10 reps last week to 12 reps this week. And so that's really where Ecti kind of kicks in. It's that endurance. It's that being able to it's a similar thing with creatine, right? Creatine allows you to hit a couple more reps. If you go from 10 reps, you might get 11, you might get 12, whatever. So I think Ecti is really beneficial in that regard. Obviously, creatine, I take that year round, so that's not something I ever stopped taking. But making sure that you are supplementing with things that are going to help your performance in the gym. In my instance, I'm somebody who responds to those supplements that I mentioned. And so for me, when I took them out last year, I definitely noticed that they weren't there. So I am keeping them in just as I do when I bulk. This time around, I think that's been very beneficial. 3, recovery. So this kind of goes hand in hand with the training. I talked about how I'm doing things that have a high stimulus to fatigue ratio, meaning they are stimulating the muscle growth process a lot, but they're not fatiguing me all that much. And therefore, now that I'm eating less calories, let's say I'm eating 1,000 less calories than I otherwise would be, I have less resources, and therefore my recovery is not going to be as good. So now that my stimulus is higher, my fatigue is lower, I dropped the frequency, so I'm lifting 1 less day a week. I think my recovery has been extremely, extremely good. I also, I've talked about this in other videos. I take the cortisol blocker. I think that's really beneficial to take at night to be able to wind down. I feel like my sleep has been better. I've talked about, when I get heavier, I start to think about, am I getting sleep apnea to a significant degree? I'm somebody who like snores and stuff like that. So as you're getting more fat and, more size on your neck, and it becomes harder to sleep, and this is something you see when people gain weight, their sleep apnea gets significantly worse when they gain weight. Well, I feel like my sleep is getting better now that I'm leaner. And so that's another aspect. I do all kinds of things for recovery. I do certain things in terms of trying to get sunlight during certain hours and keeping my circadian rhythm somewhat in check, even though that's kind of a disaster, just given that I'm more of a night owl. But there's a whole bunch of things that I'm not going to get into with this video, but I do think that recovery is one, having low stress, potentially keeping an eye on where you think your cortisol may be, getting good quality sleep, but also, again, ties in with the gym. If you're spending 10 hours a week in the gym versus 5, you're probably going to be a little bit more recovered. So again, supplementation is helpful with recovery, sleep, diet, all these things. Recovery is like this big overarching thing. But I do think that just the way that it ties in with your training, having better recovery has been something, and just sleep too, right? Losing weight, better quality sleep, good stuff. Diet. I believe I talked about this in a previous video, but I have been emphasizing micronutrients. So I've been using the app Chronometer, which helps you track your micronutrients. And so this has been a massive emphasis for me. I've been tracking my calories for the first time, but I think more importantly than that, it's nice to see where my calories are at. I'm tracking my micronutrient intake. And so this makes me make more quality food choices. So one, I'm eating more quality food. And then 2, I'm thinking at the end of the day, I didn't get enough magnesium, or I didn't get enough, vitamin K or whatever, right? And so I eat foods in accordance with what I am deficient in. I need to round out my micronutrient profile. And so for me, having a high quality diet, I think is extremely important for your performance in the gym and how you feel, your testosterone production, everything like that. And so for me, emphasizing my micronutrients, tracking them, I'm not saying you have to get chronometer. I'm not saying you have to do it, but just being mindful of what micronutrients, if you're not going to specifically track them, that you may be deficient in. That's something that I've emphasized 10 times more than I ever have in the past. And so my diet is much more nutritious, and I think that's been beneficial for performance in the gym. So, gym performance, nutrition, supplementation, recovery, all those things, I think have allowed me to be able to get to the point where I am, consistently hitting the numbers in the gym that I need to, recovering the way that I need to, sleeping and everything like that, and coming back, the following week and being able to hit a higher number. And as I'm progressing in the gym, I do think that I'm either potentially, it's possible that I'm building muscle in a deficit, but if not, I'm building the framework, the foundation to be able to build upon that in the future when I do return to a calorie surplus. And that's going to allow me to build muscle with my now stronger muscles that I have. So if I haven't seen muscle gain over the course of this cut, I do think that I'm going to see an accelerated muscle gain when I get back into being in a calorie surplus. So, all those things I think have kind of been what I've been doing. And then the general overarching thing of this is, eating more calories, eating more nutrient dense food. That's going to help you in the gym. It's going to help you recover better. And as you gain more muscle mass over time, not only is your basal metabolic rate going to go up, but also if you're active like myself, you're going to be able to eat more calories because those muscles are actually going to be doing things. And so you're going to be able to eat 3,500, 4,000 calories on a cut and still be able to lose weight, right? So that's the situation that I've kind of been in. And so building more muscle mass during your bulks and being more dialed in is going to help you have the cut be easier. And when the cut is easier, you're able to eat more food. You're able to decrease performance and lose less muscle, or in my instance, actually improve performance. And then when you get back into bulking, you're going to be able to build even more muscle because your performance is not going to be shot. And you're going to gain more muscle every year, which is then going to make your cuts progressively easier every year that you do them. And so that's kind of the overarching theme, is that as you build more muscle mass, the longer you're in the game, the easier these cuts are going to be. And so the solution is to just build more muscle. The solution to that is to have higher quality workouts, eat more food, eat more nutrient dense food. And those all are like this cycle that feeds into one another. As you eat more food, as you get more nutrients, helps gym performance. Gym performance helps you gain more muscle allows you to eat more food. And thus the cycle continues. And so the message of this at the very end, as I'm wrapping up, is to just keep pushing and keep gaining the weight. And it's going to make your cuts progressively easier over time. And then you're going to be getting to the point where cuts are going to get comically easy and you're going to lose 40 pounds and your gym lifts are going to go up and everything's going to be awesome. So hopefully you guys can, if you're not already achieving that, one day you get to the point where you can have results like that during a cut. And if you're not there yet, just keep working at it. Just keep staying in the gym. I've been in the gym for a long time, and it takes time to build that muscle. So hopefully that can help you. Anyway, that's all I got to say about that. I will keep you updated, and I'll talk to you soon.